Fresh out of the blocks is a new report on growth in Knox County, and it is called Advance Knox. We want to ask Mayor Jacobs about one of the things in there times 100, because there's so much in this new report. One of the things that it says, Mayor, is in the next 8 years, we'll see another 39,000 people move into this county. Can we absorb that many?
Yes, of course. In fact, what that really tells us is we're a great place to live. If you travel through parts of the country that are not growing, where people are moving out of, they're the ones that have problems. And, we have some issues and some challenges with dealing with this, but I would much rather be in a situation where we're dealing with people wanting to live here and people who live here not wanting to move than if we were in an area where people couldn't wait to get out of. So despite the challenges and issues, it's actually a good thing.
Mayor, following up on that, this is the report. It was just released late last week. There's a lot in it, a whole lot in it. It's kind of wonky and nerdy, but it also addresses, if you will, it kind of is a picture of who we are now and who we are going to be. So we wanted to kind of dig a little further into some specific topics. Can we start with transportation? Folks who have been out and about driving their cars, not on Sunday morning maybe, but around lunchtime on a weekday, know, and toward the end of the day, how hectic it's getting and how much more crowded we're getting, both on local roads, interstates. What do we do about that? I'm curious in terms of what your vision is how we deal with it. You've already been dealing with it some. You've seen the growth out in the Hardin Valley area. You've been dealing with putting money aside for things like Shod Road, but we are talking about significant needs infrastructure-wise. What's on your mind?
Well, that's where our planning comes in, and trying to figure out where the growth is going to happen and how we can accommodate that. One thing we have to remember is we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know exactly what the market's going to do. So we always have to be aware of that, but we can hopefully get a general idea. When we look at our interstates, we do have a big challenge on I-40 and I-75. I mean, we have two major interstates that run together for 16 miles through the heart of Knox County, and that does create a lot of issues. Even when I first moved here back in 1995, I remember, 640 where it merged with 40, and that had always been problematic. And this was after Malfunction Junction was fixed. So one thing that the governor's done is he's added money to his budget for improvements on 3 interchanges in Knox County, starting with the I-75 Emory Road, which is, I live out that way, and that is much needed. That one should actually be started relatively quickly. A lot of the work's already been done. And then we look at Campbell Station Road and Watt Road on I-40. And also the way station on Watt Road at I-40, that's actually the busiest, at Campbell Station, that's actually the busiest way station in the country. And I think TDOT has plans to move that to make it traffic flow a little better through there. So those are things that we work with TDOT on, as well as many of our routes we think of are state roads, such as Kingston Pike, Emory Road, and others. They're actually state roads. So, we have to coordinate with TDOT on those. You mentioned the Shod Road project. That's an important project that'll hopefully offload some of the local traffic off of 640, to get from North Knox County to East Knox County. But overall, it is just working with our planning folks, with the Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and trying to figure out the best way that we can accommodate what is sure to be coming in the future.
Just real quick as a follow-up, and then John's going to ask you something.
Sure.
I was reminded in the report that the CAT, which services city lines, is only city in terms of a bus line. Do we need more public transportation for Knox County?
We can certainly look at that. In the past, it just hasn't been successful and hasn't been used very much, actually. One of the things that we have looked at and worked with the Chamber is not a CAT line, but working with, say, businesses at the East Bridge Business Park and having a shuttle service that would be a public-private partnership for their workers out there. So there are things that we can look at in addition to conventional public transportation, for sure.
There's talk of selling off the Midway Site, which is an industrial site that is ready for people to move in, but has yet to see a lot of action there. This was such a huge topic of conversation a decade ago, with the Chamber saying we absolutely need this, and neighbors out there saying we're concerned about what it's going to do to our roads and quality of life. Should the county sell it off? Would you favor a plan like that?
What we could do is we could put a request for proposal out, which means that we would have stipulations that it would only be sold if these were met. Okay, so we could actually do the same thing that we would do as far as recruiting individual businesses and the restrictions that would go on that property. Just do it all at once. That's the only way I would be in favor of it. Would be as if we could negotiate something and the buyer said, this is what we agreed to, and the stipulations that have been talked about before, that's what has to be abided by. Otherwise, no. But if you think about it, if we could do that, otherwise we could be decades before we fill that up. So we can kind of get it in one fell swoop, which would be awesome. But we would only do that if we would be comfortable with the stipulations that have been promised to the community.
Let me follow up with something that happened at Commission this week, and it involved a South Knox County community and the Dry Hollow community. And we saw, again, this fight between developers and homeowners in what is a little bit more rural area about how much housing should go in there. Is this a fight that is symbolic? They came to a somewhat of a compromise. We heard from some of the homeowners in the area saying it wasn't what we wanted, but it's fewer homes than we thought might go in. Is this something we're going to see play out again and again and again, or can the county get in front of it and educate people about what's happening?
Well, Sure, that's what the Advanced Knox initiative is all about, is really looking at this preemptively and figuring it out. Currently, our zoning just doesn't work. It is not applicable to the reality of the 20 years since all those things were passed. So yeah, definitely those are things that we have to look at and see what applies now. We need to go to a town center model, which means that we can have higher density where appropriate, as well as a mixed use with retail and commercial. We can't do that in the county currently. And that's actually what leads to all this sprawl, say in Hardin Valley. It's where we have all these single unit homes spread out all over the place, then with no restaurants, no stores, no anything. That's unfortunately how our zoning constricts things right now. So we would like to have zoning to where in the areas that are no longer actually rural, but are seeing a lot of growth, be able to accommodate that in a way that doesn't cause all the sprawl and doesn't cause the congestion and those sort of issues.
Is there a good example of that, Mayor? I don't mean to interrupt you, but is there something that people...
North Shore Town Center is a great example. We can't do that in the county, but that's a great. Turkey Creek's an example on a big scale. We probably wouldn't do anything like that. But nevertheless, that kind where you have the mixed use all together. But I think we need to keep in mind too that what we're really talking about here is how do we keep our taxes low and how do we keep jobs in our area. If we don't have some growth, what will end up happening is we will have to raise taxes because we will see our revenue diminish as things wear out. And as all those sort of things just naturally happen, we'll also see our young people move away, which is something that we're already concerned about. Over the past 10 years, we've had a less than 1% population growth in the very 18 to 34-year-old demographic, which is very important. So this is not only for now, but it's for the future of Knox County and keeping our kids and grandkids here and making sure that they have good jobs.
We're going to be back with more from the mayor of Knox County, Mayor Glenn Jacobs, when we come back on Inside Tennessee.